Yo, what's cracking? You know what it is. It's your homeboy Ice Cube. And some of you may not have realized that I'm not part of the club. And a lot of you listening to me right here, right now, you're not part of the club either.
Today, we're diving into the shocking revelation from one of hip-hop's most iconic voices, Ice Cube. Recently, Cube opened up about the harsh realities of the system and why he believes Diddy, despite his fame and fortune, might not survive the brutal environment of prison.
Had a lot of fun, gave picnics, and that's where you got your guy Sean Combs came in when we brought him into the same game. So I was like what y'all call now an OG because I started it, you understand? So then Puff had some problems at the place called The Building and the Red Zone. Red Zone and The Building was parties that he was doing. The Building was the unsigned hype. If you ever seen Juice and the guy was doing the turntables and stuff like that, I think it was Omar Epps or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was Omar.
Right, that was The Building. That's where they was giving the parties there where you had leaders of the new school, Queen Latifah, different groups coming there showing their talent, Naughty by Natures and all like they would show their talent there. So Puff was having problems there, and D Ferg, one of the leaders of the same gang, which is ASAP Ferg father, said, yo, Gene, Puff need, some help, man. He need to get that money home at night and everything like that, to Kirk Burroughs and stuff like that. So why don't you go help him out? I said, I don't got no problem with that. So I put him up under my wing, so I started helping him out, by, making sure when the end of the party and stuff like that, get in the car, bring him uptown. So to answer your question, sorry about that, my profession first was, like I said, parole officer.
Diddy's been known to have control, influence, and even some monstrous behaviors at times, but the problem is, those don't fly in prison. His past as an executive and mogul may have built him up as untouchable, but inside those walls, it's survival of the fittest.
And what I realized with the club is what makes them so mad is when you don't want to be a part of their fucking club. That pisses them off. What club am I talking about? I'm talking about the club of gatekeepers that we all got to deal with. You know who they are.
Ice Cube, no stranger to speaking his mind, dropped some serious knowledge when he talked about the club of gatekeepers. These are the people who pull the strings, controlling industries and playing games with careers. Cube made it clear he's not a part of that club, and Diddy, well, he might be knee-deep in it, but when it comes to prison, none of that matters. Cube said it best. In there, you're on your own, and Diddy might not be prepared for that reality.
I've been working with, on the big three for a long time. And you know how they been fucking with me with that. I done made it, plain, simple, and clear what they've been doing. The NBA been fucking with us. Now, a lot of people might say, like, well, but Cube, you want to work with the NBA. Really, I don't give a fuck about working with the NBA. What I want them to do, when I say work with us.
According to Cube, it doesn't matter who you were on the outside. Once you're behind bars, the game changes. He knows firsthand that when you're cut off from your usual allies and resources, survival becomes a whole different challenge. And for Diddy, that challenge could be more than he's ready to handle.
It's the ghetto among ghettos. There's only 6,000 people. People ain't stop at the stop sign when you went to Wellston. So if you know what they're talking about, if you came out of Wellston, you had to educate yourself because the school district, if you came out of high school, you probably had a 6th or 7th grade education.
So let me ask you, for those that, some people know your story and they see you on this couch, so they know what we're about to get into. As a curiosity, for those who don't know, your profession was a bodyguard.
Not at all.
Okay, go ahead, please.
My profession I was professionally a New York State parole officer. Oh. Where I worked for 27 years. Okay. You understand? My second profession was an investigator for elite investigation, where I ran the investigations of housing projects in the city, Lambert Housing, Taino Towers, Eastchester Manor, some of the roughest housing projects in the city in the Bronx. My third profession, which wasn't like what you might say a bodyguard, I started what you call, with some other guys, ASAP Ferg father, Mike Cock, myself, we started what we call the Same Gang. The Same Gang was a group of guys who, at the time, Harlem was coming up. Instead of them having cliques and, they call cliques and crews, instead of them having gangs and stuff like that, we were people that partied together.
Diddy's past is filled with parties, fame, and wealth. But what people forget is how those streets don't play. Diddy might have been a hustler in the entertainment industry, but prison is a whole different environment. Ice Cube said it best. There's no hiding behind the glitz and glamour in prison. It's real, raw, and brutal. You can't dance or buy your way out of situations when you're locked up.
Stop doing that bullshit behind the scenes that we know you're doing. Mainstream media, you know, they ain't fucking with us. And that's cool. We can do it ourselves, you know what I'm saying? We still on the rise without these motherfuckers. So we don't need them, you don't need them. You know? So what am I gonna do to deal with these motherfucking gatekeepers?
Diddy might have the clubs and connections, but Cube's warning is clear. Those gatekeepers, they can't protect him in prison. The rules are different, and his status could make him more of a target than an untouchable figure. In Cube's eyes, Diddy's fame may work against him in the world of hardened criminals and ruthless power dynamics.
Well, what I'm gonna do is go on a Fuck the Gatekeepers podcast tour. And I'm gonna go talk to everybody, you know, and get a chance to get my message out to the people. Be able to let people hear from me, you know. And you know, you might agree, you might not.
So what does this mean for Diddy's future? Ice Cube seems to believe that no amount of influence or money can shield you from the harshness of prison life. It's a place where only the strong survive, and Cube questions if Diddy has what it takes to endure it. This revelation isn't just about survival, it's about understanding the reality behind the celebrity facade. And for Diddy, that reality might hit harder than expected.
I was mainly in the studio with the producer. You know, he had a stable of producers, so I was in the studio with his stable of producers, and I think we did some great music. And you know, I really kind of, you know, lost contact with him and really stopped, you know, dealing with Puffy around 94.
Ice Cube has worked with Diddy before, even producing records with his team, but things changed after 94. Cube admits he's never been one for parties, especially the kind Diddy throws. And as the pressure mounts on Diddy with legal issues and allegations, Cube shares why the power Diddy holds in the music world won't help him behind bars.
Yeah.
Any specific reason?
Yeah, I mean, you know, they was doing their thing, I was doing mine. And, you know, I'm not the partying type. You know what I mean? I ain't never been to a Diddy party. I ain't never really wanted to go. But I don't go to a lot of people parties. You know, that just ain't what I'm in it for. You know, you been to one, you been to them all.
Are you surprised at what things are coming out with Diddy at all? Or you're like, you have no idea, it's none of my business, you'll live longer?
Reflecting on the situation, Ice Cube hints at a larger game at play. In his own words, he believes Diddy might be getting targeted. Somebody, he says, has the power to pull the trigger to make this domino effect happen. Cube isn't surprised by what's unfolding, pointing to how the music industry operates.
Meanwhile, he's still behind bars in a Brooklyn jail that, according to his attorneys, has deplorable conditions. We're taking a closer look at Diddy's day-to-day life incarcerated and his road to a possible release with attorney Randy Kessler.
These so-called freak-offs were described as explicit events, arranged, directed, and recorded by Diddy, with shocking claims that they were non-consensual. According to the indictment, Diddy allegedly drugged or coerced victims into consuming alcohol, sometimes laced with substances, before mistreating them.
I'm Sierra Gillespie, and this is Law and Crime News. 54-year-old Sean P. Diddy Combs is entering his 4th week behind bars, being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. It's a far cry from his lavish life and mansions in Miami and Los Angeles, but ironically,
the government also alleges that Diddy recorded these encounters, collecting more than 100 cell phones, laptops, cloud storage accounts, and other devices filled with incriminating evidence. These recordings, which were reportedly used to blackmail victims into silence, are now critical evidence in the case against him.
it was the evidence collected at those mansions that put Diddy in jail in the first place. Back in March, federal investigators raided Diddy's homes in Florida and California, collecting evidence in the federal case against him. We now have a better idea about what investigators were collecting, including multiple AR-15 rifles.
The allegations of misconduct date back as far as 1991, with numerous survivors coming forward. Diddy's former girlfriend, Cassandra Ventura, also known as Cassie, filed a civil lawsuit last year citing years of emotional, physical misconduct. Cassie claimed Diddy recorded the so-called freak-offs and used those recordings to silence her.
Surprised. How could you be surprised with anything that happens in hip-hop? You know, hip-hop is the Wild West. So you're going to have the good, you're going to have the bad, you're going to have the ugly.
You think he's being targeted, or some of the stuff he's got, there's credibility on what they're coming after him with the tapes and the feds and raiding his Miami home, his LA home?
Cube also touches on how hip-hop, much like the Wild West, comes with its share of dangers. But in the unforgiving environment of prison, none of that matters. Fame, connections, influence, it all fades when you're inside, and Cube suggests Diddy's current world of power will be useless in there.
I believe he's being targeted.
You believe he's being targeted?
Yeah. I believe, somebody, has the power to pull the trigger to make, this stuff, this domino effect happen.
Okay. All right. So you think he's being targeted. So you don't think, Suge said, you can say what you want about Diddy.
And that's where the real danger lies. According to Ice Cube, it's not just the accusations or investigations that Diddy has to worry about. It's the reality of prison life itself. Without the ability to rely on his usual network, Diddy may find himself in a situation he's completely unprepared for.
You understand? They're not going to use them right now and put them up on a pedestal and knock them down like they doing Diddy. If Diddy hadn't done anything, if Diddy wasn't involved in anything, ain't nothing they could do to you. They could come at you, but if you got enough money like he had enough money, you understand? Whatever they say, the lies don't stand, bro. The truth stand.
Cue the heavy accusations, guns, substances, embezzlement, even trafficking. As Cube said, you don't hire 6 or 7 different lawyers unless you've been in deep. And for Diddy, those legal battles are mounting. With the amount of evidence against him, Cube believes Diddy's survival in prison is highly doubtful.
He just finally, karma is crazy. It'll reach back and bite you in the ass. And he's just getting what he deserved. Targeted? Yeah. Good. But they're going to be able to prove some of the stuff that he's done.
Yeah, it ain't looking too good for him.
Not at all. Not at all.
Cube makes one thing clear. No matter how much power you have outside, inside prison, it's a different ballgame. He said, you can't survive there with just money. They're coming for you, and they've already set it up so Diddy won't have a way out. With the cards stacked against him, Cube is certain Diddy's survival isn't guaranteed.
Puff Daddy to me is like what's them dudes who run the 3-ring circus, That dude that come out and, you know what I mean, ringmaster. I guess he the ringmaster because, you know, he do it big and he always put on a show. So Puffy is the ringmaster to hip hop.
Ice Cube compared Diddy to a ringmaster, someone who runs the show, orchestrating everything around him. He's always been larger than life, putting on a spectacle for the world. But the glitz and glamour won't help when you're locked up. Cube suggests that Diddy's status as the ringmaster may even work against him behind bars, turning him into a target.
Kanye, hella creative, you know, funny, you know what I mean? I like him because he take cockiness to 10th, 11th, 12th level. And that's what hip-hop is, baby. You know what I mean? Hip-hop is, you know, it's all about being confident in your...
In prison, it's a completely different game. While Diddy might have thrived in the spotlight, Ice Cube warns that the cockiness and confidence Diddy exudes in the outside world could make things much harder for him on the inside. As Cube points out, hip-hop is all about being confident. But in prison, that confidence might not keep you safe.
Who killed Tupac and Biggie? You know, I think both of these dudes were assassinated in some kind of way. More Biggie than Tupac. I think Tupac might got killed by a dude that they you know, had an incident with earlier that day. But Biggie's seems a little
JFK.
Governmental to me.
Rumors around Tupac and Biggie's murders suggest different possibilities. Diddy's name gets pulled into these theories since he was Biggie's close friend and a major figure in the East Coast rap scene.
54-year-old Sean P. Diddy Combs is entering his 4th week behind bars, being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. It's a far cry from his lavish life and mansions in Miami and Los Angeles, but ironically, it was the evidence collected at those mansions that put Diddy in jail in the first place. Back in March, federal investigators raided Diddy's homes in Florida and California, collecting evidence in the federal case against him.
Diddy, once at the height of the entertainment industry, now faces charges that could leave him behind bars for years. Ice Cube isn't surprised by the fall from grace. The bigger they come, the harder they fall, Cube has suggested, pointing to the fact that fame and fortune don't protect you from the realities of prison.
We now have a better idea about what investigators were collecting, including multiple AR-15 rifles with the serial numbers removed, a drum magazine, and illegal drugs. But Diddy doesn't face any charges for possession of those items. Instead, it was the electronic evidence that led to Diddy's charges. On September 16th, he was indicted by a federal grand jury on charges of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion, and transportation to engage in prostitution.
According to Cube, it's more than just the physical challenges. It's about survival. In an environment where money and status don't hold the same weight, Cube hints that Diddy's usual tricks won't work. Fame, in fact, might make him more of a target.
A main topic discussed in this indictment was freak-offs, described as elaborate and produced sex performances that Combs arranged, directed, masturbated during, and often electronically recorded. And the government alleges these freak-offs were not consensual. The indictment lays out a pattern of abuse that Diddy would often follow, drugging or forcing the victims to drink alcohol that was oftentimes laced with something, sexually assaulting these victims, and then forcing them to have sex with a prostitute.
The jail he's currently in has been described as dangerous and rundown, and Cube believes it's a world Diddy may not be ready to face.
Now, the feds say they have evidence of these freak-offs because Diddy often recorded them. Investigators apparently have dozens of freak-off videos and collected more than 100 cell phones, laptops, cloud storage accounts, and storage devices. They allege Diddy used the sensitive, embarrassing, and incriminating recordings that he made during the freak-offs as collateral to ensure the continued obedience and silence of the victims. So these same recordings that were once used to keep victims quiet are now being used to prosecute Diddy in a sex trafficking scheme that goes back decades.
Diddy's wealth may not protect him from the violence or challenges that come with being incarcerated.
For that, he was a law clerk for Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Subramanian's no stranger to high-profile cases either. He's also overseeing the Department of Justice antitrust case against Ticketmaster. That's the case where the government alleges Ticketmaster has an unlawful monopoly on the market. That really came to light after the site crashed in 2022 when Taylor Swift fans rushed to get concert tickets. But back to P. Diddy. His team will make a third bid for release, this time to Judge Subramanian.
Despite his legal team's efforts to secure bail, Diddy remains behind bars. Ice Cube believes this is just the beginning of Diddy's downfall, and with the conditions Diddy's facing, Cube is certain surviving in prison is going to be a battle Diddy isn't prepared for.
In the meantime, he's still behind bars at MDC Brooklyn, and according to Diddy's legal team, the jail is notoriously dangerous and rundown. Diddy's attorney Mark Agnifilo argues there are major issues with the jail, citing violence, poor conditions, overcrowding, and even staffing issues. He also cited some startling statistics. 2 inmates have been killed at MDC since June, and at least 4 inmates have died by suicide over the past 3 years. On top of that, 6 staff members have been charged with crimes over the past 5 years.
Ice Cube's words serve as a warning. Diddy may have thrived in the entertainment industry, but prison is a different world entirely, and Cube doesn't think he'll make it out unscathed.
It was cool up until a point, and then this stuff started happening. So I believe somebody, you know, like I said, yo, he's our new guy we on this year or whatever.
Cube has seen firsthand how the system works, and he suggests that Diddy's influence on the outside won't protect him on the inside. With mounting pressure and investigations, the road ahead for Diddy looks darker than ever. Stay tuned as we uncover more truths from one of hip-hop's biggest voices.